Welcome, everybody, to Changing of the Hip Hop Guards. That is my partner, the journalist Sincere. It is me, Uncle E. Make sure to take a second and hit that subscribe button, hit the like, share this channel with everybody that you know. We have a lot of great episodes, including this one that you're going to see tonight. Very excited to have the one and only, the author, artist, producer, you name it. He's done it. Journalist, has worked for many publications. I'll name one. You guys could do the research and check out the rest, but the source everybody knows as the Hip Hop Bible at one point in time. Joining us tonight is the one and only Skiz. Thank you for joining us, sir. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure to be here.
Going to get into your most recent project, your book that you're getting ready to put out called The Chronicles of Doom, which is this book right here. All about the one and only MF Doom. Some of me know him. I hope you do. If not, you'll get to learn a little bit about him today, especially after picking up his book when it comes out, The Chronicles of Doom. Before we get into that, though, sir, if you could do us a favor, give us a little bit of a background. Like I said, I mentioned a few things that you've done in the past, but can you tell us a little bit about growing up, your teenage years? How was that for you? And just to give us an idea of what kind of shaped and molded you.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, Beemore, which is where I'm coming to you from right now.
Right.
But I came up here, went to high school here. Went to college in Massachusetts, went to Harvard for undergrad, then went to Columbia for journalism. That's how I ended up in New York after Columbia. Came out right out of school, and I wrote a book about hip hop called The New Beats, exploring the music, culture, and attitudes of hip hop. And this was at a time that I was also writing for The Source. A couple classmates of mine from Harvard and from the radio station WHRB, shout out to HRB in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The Schechter and Mays, who started The Source, were classmates of mine. And we also all did shows at the radio station together. So basically, I started writing for The Source when I came to New York. And through my missions with The Source, I ended up writing this book called The New Beats.
Okay.
Which came out, I believe, in '94. And, ever since then, just been doing freelance journalism. Also I do production. I do production under the moniker Spectre, the Ill Saint, and I used to run a label back in the '90s called Word Sound, an independent label, not strictly hip hop. We used to put out all types of weird shit, but a lot of kind of mutant hip hop back in the day.
Okay.
And so I've been, as you said, I've been on all sides of it, writing about it, participating in it. It's hip hop. Wherever you get in, where you fit in. It's not just breakdancing, graffiti, emceeing, and DJing. I consider myself a documentarian of hip hop. And most recently, the last thing I did was a book on Wu-Tang called From the Streets of Shaolin, the Wu-Tang Saga, which came out in 21.
Right.
And that's like, Wu-Tang is like one of my all-time favorite groups in hip hop. So that book was like really a pleasure to do, honor and a pleasure, paying tribute to the Clan. And I know Doom was a big fan of the Clan, and he eventually worked a lot with, especially Ghostface. We'll probably get into that some tonight. But that's pretty much it as far as me in a nutshell, as far as my background in all of this.
Dope. Can you just elaborate? You said, as far as the record label, a lot of weird type of stuff that you guys put out. What do you mean exactly by weird?
just like I wouldn't even know what to classify it genre wise, like just like.
Give us an example of something that might have came out through the record label that someone could probably go back and check,
Okay, well, probably the biggest release that we put out was Prince Paul's first solo release, which is called Psychoanalysis.
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Mm-hmm.
And people think of it as an album of skits, but it's really a lot deeper than that. It's kind of very subversive. It's subversive while it's got this kind of funny, outlook. It's got, it's kind of got that kind of quirky Prince Paul stamp on it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very subversive. And actually, Tommy Boy eventually picked that up off us, and Paul ended up getting a deal with Tommy Boy again, and he ended up doing Handsome Boy Modeling School with Dan the Automator,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple other projects. But yeah. Psychoanalysis, Prince Paul, that would probably be the biggest hip hop release that we did. We also had an artist named Sensational, who was this kid who used to be down with the Jungle Brothers. When he was with the Jungle Brothers, his name was Torture, and he was just like 16, 17.
Okay.
And he was a pretty wild child, and put out about 7 of his records.
Right.
He was churning them out, and it's just like all his own productions too, and talk about dusted. Here's a kid who used to like record his vocals through the headphones. He plugged the headphone into the mic jack and just like, so it sounds really dusted and shit like that. But
right. Had that old feel to it. So again, like I said, we're going to be talking about your book. I was just curious. You had your record label. You worked for a lot of publications that dealt with hip hop. Back at that time, whether it was working through the publications or maybe you as an artist producing, did you cross paths with, let's say, KMD or younger MF Doom, known as Zevlov Lex at the time? Did you have any contact, come across them?
Of course. I mean, I never met Doom directly, but definitely KMD. That was actually a group that I had my eye on because, as far as like the native tongues go, they were kind of in that clique, and they were kind of like the next who was supposed to pop. And the whole story. Black Bastard, first Sub dies, then Black Bastards never comes out.
Right.
And that's the whole beginning of Doom's story in this, so definitely I remember the Mr. Hood album. It was up there with like Tribe, with De La, it was that same kind of quirkiness but with a subversive edge to it, which they even refined on Black Bastards, because being in the industry, I got the cassette tape, the advanced tape of Black Bastards, just like a couple weeks before it came out in like May '94. I remember that. And it was banging, really. I mean, like, I couldn't believe the difference between that album and Mr. Hood. They had like really grown up a lot in the interim. And, like I said, that they were about to pop. But everything just went south, and that's where we pick up the story here.
Mm-hmm. You still have that cassette?
I still have it. Yep.
Get out of here.
Still have it. Yep.
Wow, that's cool.
Electra. It's got the It's even got the Electra.
Yeah. The logo. Yeah. That's crazy.
Can you talk about some of your contributions to the Source magazine?
Sure. I didn't do a lot of covers. I was kind of like, I think the last cover I did was maybe like a Wu-Tang cover. And I did a DOS Effects cover, but I have like very eclectic taste in music. So I used to write about a lot of different shit for the Source. Like when dancehall was like really big in the 90s, I did a big article about how I'm talking about like the Shabba Ranks era, but I did a big article about how reggae was one of the big influences on hip hop to begin with, because obviously, because Kool Herc, was from Jamaica. He came from Jamaica, and he brought that whole concept of the sound system from Jamaica to the Bronx, and that's where we see the birth of hip hop. But I did pieces that I'm really happy about was like one on Jazzy J, who was like one of the original Zulu Nation DJs. He doesn't get a lot of credit, but Bambaataa gets all the credit. But Jazzy J, Bambaataa was more of a selector. He used to choose the records, but Jazzy J was actually the guy who's on the turntables, cutting it up and shit like that. Mm-hmm. And when I first moved to New York, when I was going to Columbia, I used to go to Jazzy's studio in the Bronx and just hang out and just see all these artists come through, like Fat Joe, like before he even came out. He used to record from there, Lord Finesse, all those dudes from Harlem and the Bronx used to come through Jazzy's studio. So, these are like dudes who are legendary, like, these guys are the originators of hip hop. And to just like be in the same room with them and see how they operate is pretty incredible. So, I appreciate hip hop just from the very beginning. Like the new beats is really me documenting the old school and Herc, Bambaataa, and Flash and the whole Bronx scene and all that stuff happening. So, yeah.
For the new beats, after that came out, what kind of reception did you get for that book?
Well, when the new beats came out in '94, it was on a pretty big imprint, Anchor Doubleday at the time, but they didn't really promote it. But at that time, after the book came out, I was just starting up the label. So I was like really busy at the time, just kind of like on the other side of things. I was still writing for publications. I was still writing for The Source and Rolling Stone and places like that. But I think the label was taking up most of my time at that point.
Who were some of the artists on that label, or did it get, did it take off the ground at that point?
You talking about Word Sound, my label?
Yep.
Like I said, we put out the Prince Paul Psychoanalysis. Another hip hop artist that we put out was Sensational, formerly of the Jungle Brothers. Myself as Spectre, I used to do instrumental beats, long before there was even that category, like even before DJ Shadow introducing, I was doing pretty much strictly instrumental beats. And then other stuff that we put out on the label was pretty much heavily dub. If you're familiar with that, dub is like the instrumental style of reggae, just like drum and bass,
right,
heavy bass, and just like, slow and heavy, and like a lot of like sound effects and stuff like that. So we used to do a lot of dub and hip hop, electronic music, like some Middle Eastern music, some kind of ill jazz shit, so it was a very eclectic, stable, but in the course of about 10 years, we put out about 65 albums, and we still have a presence online through Bandcamp,
Nice.
Bandcamp. If you go to Word Sound on Bandcamp, you can see all the releases up there. So we're still kind of alive in the digital realm.
Okay, nice. Do you still is the label actually functioning though, or you just kind of just have that up there as far as for people to be able to check it out?
Yeah, it's now it's all about downloading and stuff, so people can listen to all the records. They can download it. I still do a small mail order,
Okay.
Sending out physical product, but it's like really nothing to speak of,
Right, right.
But during the decade of the 90s, that was pretty much my whole
That was
focus,
it. Okay.
and I was kind of like writing on the side because after the new beats came out in 94. After that, I could have done a lot as far as writing. I could have done more books and stuff like that, but I chose to stick with actually putting out music.
Okay.
And working on that end of the thing. And I have no regrets at all because we went we toured Europe, we toured Japan. I traveled a lot on this music thing, and
Nice.
and it's nice to just go see places, and through
Well,
music,
I'm
meet people through that.
I'm sure with the way you describe your taste in music, getting to travel to places and get to hear things from other countries, I'm sure you took in so much, like as far as
Oh man,
sounds
it's
and
great. Yeah, I mean, travel is. To me, travel is the best education anyone
yeah,
can
yeah,
have. I've been blessed to have a good actual education. As far as the schools I went to and everything. But the stuff that you learn traveling, you can't
nah,
beat.
you
It's
can't buy.
priceless.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You can't
And
buy
like
that.
and meeting people, and meeting
Mm.
different people
The
and having
culture.
different
Yep.
perspective. It just opens your mind. You know what I mean? It's like, and I think that's what a lot of people here don't have. Because a lot of people don't travel here,
Nah, you get by the sort of box. Well,
I
maybe
mean, New
now
York is different because to me, New York is always a
it's a
world city.
melting pot.
It's
Right,
not
right,
even it's not even America to me. New York
right.
is like the world.
Right, right.
For real. It's
That's a
like,
good way of looking at it. But speaking about other places, I'm a little interested in. You also put out a book called Rice and Curry.
yeah,
So
that's a cookbook. Yeah,
your,
you done your digging, huh?
your parents. So your parents are from Sri Lanka.
Yeah. Yep. Originally, my
Okay.
parents are from Sri Lanka. Yep.
Okay. So talk a little bit about that because it was. I find it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I've ever really met somebody that came from. I mean, I know you were born here, but
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
much about the culture or anything from
well,
there. But I've always heard the name.
there's a huge Sri Lankan community in Staten Island, actually,
Okay.
not far from like Park Hill and shit like that.
Okay.
And I actually did a video about that on YouTube. But yeah, cooking is another interest of mine, passion,
Yeah, yeah.
you might say. And I always that cookbook is just like a homage to my mom, and the
Nice.
food that she made for us growing up, because that's like, as you said, I was born and raised in America, but that was like my one connection to the motherland, the food.
The food,
So
right,
I
right.
always wanted to do that. So I actually went back to Sri Lanka for a year and lived there for a year and just like learned about the
Really
cuisine, mostly from friends and family, aunts and stuff like that. I got like 6 aunts and they all cook. So
nice.
that was like a real, that was like a real great cultural experience for me, to delve into my roots and also like share it with other people through the cookbook, because the food is not that difficult to make,
Right.
Curries are not difficult to make. You just have to have that curry powder and most of the ingredients you can get here now. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that was like a little diversion from all the music stuff, I think I did that in like originally in like 2006, 2007. And then, you know what, I had some of the producers, Anthony Bourdain's show, contacted me to say he was going to Sri Lanka. So I got on that trip and I
Okay.
was like the on-camera host for him
Oh, nice.
for that. Yeah,
Nice.
so that was
Yeah.
really cool too, because I respected Anthony Bourdain as far as,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like his show, and because like I said, he was like a guy who, like, his whole thing was about bringing the people closer together,
Mm-hmm.
not creating divisions between people. And that's another thing that food and music have in common, right? Is that something that we
Hip
can
hop.
all
Yeah, yeah.
share? It's like it doesn't matter where you're from. It's like we can all relate to good food. we can all relate to good
Good
music.
music, right. That's
That's
pretty cool.
That's what we need more of, because there's so much hate and division right now. It's crazy. Look what's happening, man. It's crazy. It's
Yeah,
like,
there's a lot of craziness going on. Something I wish. I mean, that's a whole different thing. I was just gonna say, I wish some of these people that are the face and representing, especially when it comes to hip hop, man, would have made better decisions. Because I feel like there's a lot of the important structures when it comes to hip hop that have gotten themselves into certain things and issues that kind of now is almost like they're wiping that history away. And
right.
we're seeing something happening right now that could potentially cause more stuff to get wiped away if they're not careful. You know what I mean? Without getting too crazy into it. But with this whole Puffy thing, that's like trickling down to a lot of other things, and I just hope it doesn't get to the point where it's like,
Hip hop is much bigger than that, man. Like
it is.
Saying that in an interview too. It's got nothing to do with it. Hip hop.
Yeah, no. It is. But I just mean in the sense of, and again, I don't want to stay too long on that, but I just mean in the sense, for example, you have one thing that affects somebody else, and you take even something as simple as an artist that we all grew up and liked, or we've been listening to their music and love it, and now it gets a little tarnished because of being involved with something. Those type of things, we saw that happen with the, Africa Bambaataa, the Zulu Nation, such a pillar in the hip hop world, and that got kind of tarnished as well. And I just hate seeing that. I hate seeing something that people love so much and have worked so hard to create and fight for it, get those jabs like that. But
I hear you, man. But you got to put it in perspective too, because we're seeing the veil lifted on a lot of things.
Right.
Society in general,
That's true too.
We're seeing the truth is not pretty, man. It's ugly. It's raw.
Right.
We are seeing that all around, every day,
Right. You're right.
So if you put it in perspective, it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
hip hop is going to go through that too.
The same thing that the world is going. Right.
Reckoning, basically, a reckoning,
Right. Kind
we're
of
long overdue for it,
Build and destroy, right? Talk a little bit about, you touched on the From the Streets of Shaolin. How was that as far as putting that together, doing your research, getting in touch with them? Was it difficult? I know Wu-Tang can be a little hard to reach out to or to get and speak to. How was that process?
Well, luckily I had done most of my research in the 90s when I was hanging out with them.
Okay.
More,
When they were more accessible.
Definitely RZA. I've hung out with him quite a lot in the 90s, and once you have RZA's respect, everyone else's respect is a lot easier to get, So it's like by the time they were doing Wu-Tang Forever, I was able to be in a room with just the clan and just kind of like be like a fly on the wall. And they didn't even pay attention to me. They were just having their normal arguments and whatever, but, it's all brotherly love in the end. But, I was like right in the heart of it for that,
Wow.
In the studio a lot of times, outside the studio. And I spent a lot of just one-on-one time with each of the different dudes, not just RZA, with all of them. So that was a product of maybe like 20 years of research,
Okay.
Of me being around a lot, I've been everywhere. I went out to LA, I went out to the Wu Mansion, and that was a lot of it was through the source and all my journalism stuff. But a lot of times I just had RZA's number and I would just like to hang out sometimes, just see what's going down, So that was fun. That was actually fun to actually compile all my notes and all my observations and just finally sit down and just put it down, and also to just put them in perspective with a lot of other shit that was going on. And that gave rise to Wu-Tang, like the whole crack era. Mm-hmm. I get into that a lot. I get into the whole 5%er origins and evolution, how the whole Nation of God started, and all of that stuff and how they got involved. and also the birth of hip hop. You know, it
Mhm.
also gave me a chance to just like do a little kind of recap on the birth of hip hop in the Bronx, which is always important because we always lose sight of that now. Because like hip hop is pop culture, right?
Mhm.
It's like everywhere, and it's just like mainstream. But we often lose track of where it really came from and who really started it. You know what I mean? So that's all in there, and it's like a thick. It's a tome. You know, it's like it's almost 500 pages. You know, but and it's deep into the music too. All of those first round of solo albums.
Mhm.
You
Right,
know,
right.
did between between after Enter Wu-Tang, you know, and before Wu-Tang Forever. So it's like there's a lot covered in that book, you know, a lot for
Right.
the heads, and also if you don't even know about Wu-Tang, you know,
Still an interesting story.
because to me, for my generation, they're like the Rolling Stones. You know, I don't know what you guys think, but
Yeah, I think we agree.
Rolling Stones. You know, it's like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can see they're going to be around too. You know, we lost Dirty, but they're going to be around. You know, they're like in their 50s and stuff like that. We're going to still see some Wu Tang tours. So.
yeah. They look good too.
Yeah, man.
Can you talk about the writing process for each book, like the beginning, your thoughts, your notes? Is each process the same for each book, or is it different?
It's the same and different at the same time because I'll talk about the Wu Tang book compared to the Doom book. Okay, just to
Mhm.
give you an example.
Mhm.
I was just telling you that the Wu Tang book was a culmination of like 20, 25 years of research of me hanging out with them and in the studio, outside the studio, doing interviews, blah, blah, blah. For Doom, I never met Doom in my life. You know, I never personally met Doom. I was always aware of Doom. I was aware of KMD, and later I was aware of MF Doom.
Mhm.
You know, because Prince Paul, I believe, hit me to the fact that Doom had just come back. You know,
Right.
Zev Love X had just come back as Doom, but with the Doom book, I interviewed about 50 people who knew him really well. You know what I'm saying? Including friends, family, Uncle E, you know, Mr.
Right.
Hood, you know, a couple of GYP members. Shout out to GYP.
Yes, sir.
Um, I interviewed one of his brothers, Dimbaza,
Dimbaza, yeah.
his cousin Michelle,
Mhm.
you know, one of his aunties, you know, plenty of people who collaborated with him, you know. And I had interviews that Doom had done, like the Red Bull interview, which was a pretty lengthy interview, like the interview he did with Pete Augustin, who's a friend of mine, which was originally Elemental Magazine. Doom actually has a lot of interviews online, whether they be on YouTube or just like on the internet, like print interviews. So
Mhm.
I was able to use his interviews, which is him speaking in his own words, and also original interviews with all these people who knew him, like 50 people who knew him. It took me about almost a year just to do those interviews, you know. Because imagine that scheduling people like crap out at the last minute. You got to reschedule it. You know, Uncle E was very good. Was very forthcoming when I interviewed him,
Thank you.
and all the dudes there. I think the only dude I did not get in touch with was Onyx.
I was going to ask you about that.
Even though I was back and forth with Onyx for a long time, I thought he was going to do it. But yeah, that's a contrast as far as research. So like Wu Tang, I had like real in-depth personal interviews with them. Other side with Doom Book, I had a whole different approach. I was going at it from the outside in, you know.
Mm.
Wu Tang, I was almost had this inside view, and you know, and also it's like so many different characters in Wu Tang. Doom, you had one dude who was playing all these different characters. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So it was still interesting because Doom has And Doom had so much music. He was so prolific. He had so many albums, and everything was so different. So it was like there was a lot to write about there. You know, Doom and Wu-Tang like intersect in so many ways. You know, because I think in the 90s, like Wu-Tang was a renaissance for hip hop. You know, it was like a renaissance from when the corporations were first biting down on hip hop, and like, you know, you had Vanilla Ice, MC Hammer. So like Wu-Tang was a reaction to that. They were bringing it back to the basics, back to the essence of hip hop, you know, beats and rhymes, you know, like the witty, unpredictable talent and natural game, whatever. And I think Doom was a renaissance for hip hop in the early 2000s because he was bringing that same fire, that same golden era energy to the early 2000s, you know, when like hip hop was going all different directions, Dirty South, you know, it was like all splintering up into different regional stuff. And so Doom, and also Doom like represented like that underground sound, you know, that will never die. So like he was bringing that back. So he was kind of a renaissance in the 2000s. So, you know, I see them just, that might just be being personally, but I see them intersecting in so many ways. And then you find out that Doom was a huge Wu-Tang fan, obviously. He was influenced by Wu-Tang a lot, even down to the mask, you know, the mask, mm-hmm. Like Ghostface just had the stocking mask, but Doom was not going to bite. Doom was not going to have a mask until he knew that Ghostface took the mask off. His brother told me that. He said like Doom was very particular about that. He was like, he is not going to bite. He wanted to do it, but he was like, I'm not going to do it until Ghostface takes the mask off. And Ghostface obviously did that very early on. You know, I think maybe like the first single he had the stocking cap, right?
Right in the beginning. Yeah.
But Doom was even rocking the stocking cap at those first.
I was gonna say there's one particular show I remember he did have the stocking on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the most memorable interactions with people writing this new book?
It was all I would say. Yeah, all of my interactions were over Zoom this time with the Doom book, you know, as opposed to the Wu-Tang where I was face to face with them. Sometimes, like when you interview RZA, you got to spend the whole day with him. He won't give you the interview till like 2 a.m. at the studio, but you got to go through the whole day with him. You know, you got to go get a haircut, pick up a pair of Timbs, you know, go to Sam Ash, play on some keyboards, go to the park, play a couple games of chess, go to the Indian restaurant, go to the record label, you know. So that's some of my memorable moments as a journalist, like in the field, like a day like that, like hanging out with RZA and seeing him and just interact with people on the streets of New York. He loves New Yorkers and New Yorkers love him, you know, especially back in the day when the Klan was running shit. And, you know, just to see all those interactions and just to see him, just me and him walking around, you know, he didn't walk around with bodyguards and shit like that. It was like unheard of, you know, like in New York, you always see hip hop artists on the subway. You know, I've seen like Kool Keith on the subway, Killer Priest, you know, just like on the subway, kind of like just jacked up, you know. Just like, so it's like it's a whole different thing, you know, like in New York. But it was fun. It was definitely fun because just you're rolling through different boroughs. You know, I remember going through Queens, and you know, I met a large professor back at his apartment up in Queens, and it was just like I was shocked. It was just like empty apartment, you know, it's like a bare light bulb, and he had his SP12, and he was just like, and his 40, he's just like, you know, just committed to just making beats and stuff like that. And just, to me, that's the most memorable thing, going up into different studios and different like, you know, DJ Mark the 45 King studio, or like, you know, I was with Mobb Deep when they were doing their first record in this like really kind of ghetto studio in Times Square and shit like that. And that's, you know, that's like priceless stuff. And I never had an iPhone back then or anything. It's just like experiences that I had, and just like being around. You just can't, you know.
Yeah, no, those are priceless.
You just live those, you know. It's just.
Okay.
I kind of got carried away from the original
No.
question. Sorry about that.
That's fine. No, but I just wanted to, because he was asking us as far as you know, interviewing people. Wasn't it sort of around COVID time though when you?
Yeah, when I did the Doom interviews, it was all through COVID,
right? Yeah. Because I remember, I think it was after
COVID, so I had to do Zooms.
Yeah, right. That's what
or just like a telephone, you know, just on the phone.
Yeah. Because I think I spoke to you was after. I think it was after we did the street naming.
Yeah, definitely after that. Definitely after that.
It was after that.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was very hesitant. I think who was it? I think it was Webb, DJ Webb, X-Ray, the mind bender, that reached out to me and told me that, you know, that I think it was him. I'm almost positive he was the one that told me that.
He's the first person I talked to in your crew. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So he told me, and when he told me, I'm like, okay. This is because you know, you got to think, after he passed away, there was so, you know, everybody wanted to do something. Everybody wanted to do a show. Everybody wanted to do a podcast. Everybody wanted interviews after he passed. And you're just kind of like, listen, this is not just like somebody that passed away. Like, he meant a lot more to us than just an artist that passed away. So I think that might be also why, you know, Onyx is very protective of that as well. You know what I mean? So
right. Yeah, I completely understand, because plenty of people didn't talk, you know, like Grim, I couldn't get him to talk. Curious didn't talk, surprisingly, because I'm friends with another CM fam dude, you know, gave me Curious's number and shit like that, but he didn't want to talk.
Yeah, I think it was the time. It still is in a way, but I think, you know, the timing and everything was a little kind of weird, and awkward in a way, and also you just don't know, like, you know, who's who and who's doing it for the right reasons, and who's taking into account that it's, you know, not just to say hey and get the views or sell this, you know what I mean, like to really, I guess, do it from the heart, I guess, if that makes sense.
Of course.
You know, but I'm glad, you know, because like I said, having a chance to read it so far, I like the direction you went in. I really love how you take certain things, but you see, I don't want to give too much from the book, because I want people to go out and read it. But you don't just talk about them; you actually talk about other things. Like if it's music, for example, you might get into this whole Godzilla and when the Godzilla started, and this and that. You get into all of that. Right. I love how you do that to then bring it up to what you want to get to as far as Doom went. Because
it's just called adding context, you know. It's like, because, you know, obviously these movies were important to him. So like, why? Like, that's the next question. Why were they important to him? You know, like, why?
And as a culture, and you know, because if you think about, you know, the time, you know, our era of growing up and what was, you know, what was going on, what was popular, what you know, karate movies, what, you know, take Wu-Tang. I mean, how could they not incorporate it? That's what we grew up on. You know what I mean? We used to love going to Times Square and watching 3 karate movies for like $2 or whatever, you know, before you saw the main feature. But no, I love how you did that with the book. It's it feels like I said, for me personally, it's something that it's like it has everything in one place. You know what I mean? And I like that I'm able to have that. So, you did a great job with that.
Thank you. That's what I hoped it would be, because the story, this, like you said, like after he passed, like all the stories came out and the podcast came out, but no one really got the whole story, because Doom that's why I call the book Unraveling Rap's Masked Iconoclast, because he was a very complicated guy and he had a very complicated story. It's not very simple to unpack Doom. It's like you have to unravel it almost like an onion, because there's so many different layers to it, and that's one of them. It's like you're just taking.
Yeah, especially for somebody who was so kind of reserved. It's not like he was all the way out there. So
and I didn't want to, as someone who had never met him, I wasn't even trying to get into his head. And I say that straight up in the very beginning. I'm not trying to get behind the mask and into his head, because he's a complicated dude. It's like I wouldn't even try to do that.
What was the biggest challenge for you, if there were any, as far as putting this book together, besides not getting being able to speak to certain people?
Just really just the research, just getting information, because like I said, a lot of people didn't want to talk. I had to, doing this book, I had to go a little more out of my way than normal to convince people to speak, and to tell them where I'm coming from, and also just threading that fine line between, because I knew Doom and his whole family are very private. So threading that very fine line between privacy and what we have a right to know as fans or people who are interested or kind of invested in Doom, because his fans are not like normal fans. No. They're heavily invested into Doom, and they will defend him to the bone. That was another thing.
You're right. You're 100%.
I had to kind of balance that out too, because obviously if you read the book, you realize that I love Doom. I really love the guy, and I love what he did, but I didn't love everything he did, and I gotta talk about some of the other stuff, maybe some of the stuff that's a little more unsavory that you don't want to hear about. I gotta also give fair play to that,
Right.
In order to give a complete picture of Doom, because come on, man, he did advertise it. He did call himself the super villain, so I'm not going to try to make him out like an angel, because he wasn't,
Right.
And anyone who you talk to will tell you that. Anyone who knew him well, who you talk to, will tell you that. But the book, to me, focuses much more on his artistry. I kept out any talk about his family. I did talk about him, which was fair game. And I did run it by people. I ran it by Prince Paul, who was his mentor, who I think Doom saw as a mentor. And I was like, Paul, I found out that Doom had a little habit, how do you think I should handle that in the book? I'm not trying to be do some big expose or some shit like that. But, and Paul was like, I think you got to put it, because it's kind of like a cautionary tale to people. It's like, I think a lot of people know that he had a problem with alcohol, and even Doom admits that stuff himself in plenty of songs. But,
yeah.
Other, it's so stuff like that is fair game. It's like, I'm not trying to. None of us is perfect. You know what I'm saying? We all have flaws as people. No one's trying to portray themselves as perfect. I'm certainly not. Doom certainly wasn't, you know. He wasn't trying to portray himself as some kind of role model or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, he was a supervillain. And what it is, you know, that's what it is. It is. So.
That kind of leads to my next question. What was some of the most surprising things that you uncovered while doing your research?
Oh, one of the funniest things, which was kind of surprising, was the fact that Doom was dealing psychedelics so much and also taking them. Like at one point, he and his brother, his younger brother Dimbaza, were taking a lot of psychedelics. And, you know, as someone who's taken a lot of psychedelics myself, that explains a lot about Doom. Like, to me, like, I don't even have to get it into his head. Now I can say, okay, now I see where Doom is coming from. Okay. So, you know, people, you know, obviously people knew that he drank a lot and stuff like that, but maybe people didn't know about this side of him, psychedelic side of him. And it just fits in with so much other stuff about Doom. Like, I would say that Doom was heavily into, I'm not going to, when I say occult, I don't mean black magic or something like that. Occult to me just means hidden knowledge. And I would say that Doom was heavily into hidden knowledge, and not conspiracy, but that type of, like, whatever you might want to call, like, UFO, alien lore, ancient alien type stuff. He was into that stuff. He was into Buckminster Fuller, you know, he was into geodesic domes. He used to make geodesic domes. He was into crystals and stuff like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that doesn't really come out a lot in his rhymes, but he was legitimately into that. And as someone who follows some of that stuff myself, I can totally I get it, I understand it, you know, and I see it gives me a greater understanding of Doom himself. You know, he's known as like this funny MC, and this guy who's like, he's always got like a line, you know, a witty. Mm-hmm. But he was also very subversive too. He also put out like some real shit out there, you know. And if you dig deeply enough into some of this stuff, you might find it. And definitely, like, in interviews, he definitely drops a lot of jewels too, you know, unlike any other dude in hip hop that I've ever seen, even compared to like Bambaataa and stuff like that, who was into like UFO shit, conspiracy, alien shit, you know, JFK assassination shit. Like, you go back and listen to some of Doom's interviews, and he's like really onto some serious science, you know, like he's talking about syncing the hemispheres of the brain together, left and right hemisphere of the brain, but he just tosses that off like in an interview. But if you know some of the things, you'll know what he's talking about.
You catch it, right.
And I get into some of that in the book, you know. But these are the type of things that I would have had to talk to people who are very close to Doom, because I'm sure Doom didn't talk about this stuff with just anyone, you know.
Right. For you personally, what are some of your favorites out of his discography?
I like obviously, like, Mad Villainy is like, to me, is like the epitome of Doom's catalog. You know, the album that he did with Madlib. I think that is like, you know, like a huge achievement in hip hop. Other albums of his that I like, that I think are just as strong, Operation Doomsday. I think that's great, and I like Food, But I like a couple of the later albums that didn't maybe get the acclaim that the earlier ones did, like the one he did with Gennaro Jarrell. It's called JJ Doom Keys,
Mm,
Keys of
yeah.
Cups. And also the one that he did just as Doom, Born Like This.
Mhm.
I think that was a powerful release, and like I don't think it got the props that it should have. And the thing about Doom, when you see in those later releases, you see an artist who's growing. You don't see a guy who's stuck in some formula and who's trying to reclaim some former glory. You see a dude who's like growing like this, and he's like more like this. He's becoming like a monster. Like by the time you get to Born Like This. But then I think, obviously the death of one of his sons, Malachi, when I think Malachi was like 14, that had to have made a huge dent in Doom's heart, man. I mean,
Right.
my brother lost his son at age 17, so I can imagine. I kind of know the feeling, but I don't, because it's not my son. But imagine losing a son or a child, any child. That's why. I mean,
Yeah.
it's heavy. It's like,
Right.
but yet he did put out music after that. He did put out music after he did I think he did 2 collaborations with Czarface, 2 albums.
Yeah, I think music was definitely his, besides just his passion and loving it and loving hip hop, I think it was also his therapy, and it's just a way to escape from things, that's what I think.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with you. Yeah.
So after doing all of your research, like I said, you said, I'm sorry, you knew about Doom, you music wise, everything. Did anything change in your perspective and your thoughts as far as Doom? Did you appreciate it more, less? What were your thoughts afterwards?
The whole experience of doing the book definitely made me appreciate Doom more. I mean, because think about it, I studied this guy's music for several years now, at least 3 years. So I've gone pretty deep into it, like deeper than I could even express on a page. You know what I mean? Like I'll tell you, like in the Wu-Tang book, I like really dissected the music and stuff like that. And I got a lot of complaints for that. Like I don't think people wanted to go that deep. So with this one, I didn't really go deep into it like I did before. I didn't really like dissect every little thing about it, but nonetheless, I went through the experience of listening to all the albums and like really deep soak, deeply marinating in those records, and obviously reading everything about Doom that's on the internet, talking to all his friends and family and collaborators. So it was an intense experience, if you will. It's
Right.
To me, it's almost like method acting, where you kind of you have to become the character that you're researching.
To understand,
I think Doom. I think I don't know. Maybe you can answer, Uncle Lee. But I think Doom was probably pretty intense. Like I bet he could get intense and like.
Yeah.
When it came down to business, he could like really get into it because
yes, he was very, a little bit more. He was laid back, but yeah. When he needed to, or if he had to, he was very passionate and whatever he needed, he stood on what he believed, and you couldn't budge him from that.
Right. Yeah, because like from what I've heard, like he seems like a perfectionist as far as the music. Like
Yeah,
like he would do a mastering session over like 5 times,
yeah,
and insist on being there.
yeah.
And like
Him and his brother Sub Rock, they both were the same in that sense, man. They were very meticulous, very and again, you're talking about a time where they didn't have all the technology at their. I mean, I'm talking about KMD days, obviously.
right.
They didn't have all the technology you have now, so yeah, they both were intense. Sub Rock was a little bit more outgoing. Like he was a little bit more outgoing than when Doom would be a little bit more in the cut. Doom was always, interacting this and that as well. But, if we were all hanging out, 9 times out of 10, Doom would be around, but kind of off to the side, whether he was reading or doing something. But even though it looked like he wasn't paying attention to what was happening, he was very well in tune and would get a lot of ideas just from observing and very, they were way ahead of their time, but yeah, what do you hope to accomplish when this book comes out and hits the stores and people are able to get it and pick it up and read it? What is your hope to accomplish? What do you want people that read it to be left with?
Well, I hope a greater appreciation of Doom. I think I was actually surprised, like when I was first pitching this book, I was hesitant because I didn't even think there would be a market for it. But then the Dilla book came out, and like I would say that Doom and Dilla are kind of like, they're both like these, big names in the underground, you know what I mean? Like they made their mark, in the underground like that. And so, I pitched it to my agent and he was interested. He was definitely interested. And, basically agents don't take these things on unless they think they can sell them. So I guess we were lucky to find, excuse me, a company it's a small company, Astra House, but we were lucky to find an editor there who was interested and who was like a fan of Doom, And basically my aim is to basically expose more people to Doom because first of all, I think he's an amazing artist, and I think he brings so much more to the table than your average MC. You know what I mean? It's like, because as I said, I've had a chance to like really immerse myself in his music, and he to me, he stands. He has his own lane in hip hop, definitely. You can't really compare anyone else to Doom. I think he really stands alone in hip hop, and I think especially his most prolific period between 2000 and 2005 will always be like legendary in the game. Like that was like Doom. That was like the dynasty era, like if you say the Wu-Tang had a dynasty during the mid 90s from like 93 to 97, the Doom dynasty was like 2001 to 2005, like if you were a real hip hop head and you were paying attention, it was all about Doom during that period. You know what I mean?
Right.
And to me, like I never stopped following him.
Damn, as soon as you said that, all the fireworks went off.
Albums were even better, not better, but they were like even like so different, like here's a dude who's actually evolving as an artist, He's not like eating his own tail, but he's actually growing. So who knows what Doom could have been? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just want to. There's so many artists in hip hop that that we lose all the time, and like we always give them their props after the fact. And obviously Doom is going to be one of them, but let's like really give him his props. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's give Doom a serious book, that like really delves into his huge catalog. Let's give him a movie, man. Let's give Doom a movie too. I want to see, because I came up on people who had footage, like your man Web D. He's got footage of the first Doom shows. We would love to see that, because at the end of the day, I'm a fan like everyone else. You know what I mean? Like, and there's probably fans that know Doom even better than me. They rattle off whole songs, and stuff like that.
Like you said earlier, they're a very, very interesting set of fans, man.
Can you talk a little bit about the artwork behind the book?
Yeah, what do you guys think of the artwork? Pretty cool, huh?
I think it's pretty cool, man. I love
that
it.
Is shouts out to L'Amour Supreme.
L'Amour Supreme.
He also did the two Czarface album covers with Doom on them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's like a well-known dude in the comic book realm. Yeah, L'Amour Supreme. I've never met him, but they picked it. But
was that all his concept?
I asked for like a comic book style cover, so that's what I got. I'm very happy with that cover.
Very dope. Very dope.
Yeah.
I like the fact we had a chance to interview Keo.
Okay.
Who built the first mask.
Yeah.
For Doom and everything, and he was explaining to us, because you mentioned earlier about the crystals and all of that stuff. And in the interview, he talks about how that mask. It had a lot to it, man. There was a lot going on, a lot of crystals, a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that on the cover they kind of have like in the middle right there.
Yeah. Well, the ruby in the third eye you can always see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Keo was talking about inside the mask, though.
Inside. There's the quartz, and also there's like a copper spiral.
Mm-hmm.
Third eye is.
Right. When does the book come out?
It's coming out October 29th.
October 29th.
Yeah.
All right. Close to Halloween.
But this is my first podcast appearance for this book. So.
Oh, thank you.
The opportunity.
That.
You guys get the exclusive world premiere.
Thank you. Now, when it comes out, where would it is it hitting all the major bookstores? How could people purchase the book?
Yeah, Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, Barnes and Noble.
Or your local neighborhood bookstore. And I'm going to be at the Brooklyn Museum, October 31st.
October
for the New York book launch.
Oh, really?
October 31st, and L'Amour, actually joining me is going to be L'Amour Supreme, the artist.
Yeah.
And also Courtney Brown, who was Doom's assistant for a couple years.
Oh, okay.
Courtney Brown.
Yeah.
And she was a good friend of Doom's. So we're going to talk about the book, and we're going to talk about Doom, basically. And my man Rob Swift is going to be playing some music.
Nice.
Oh,
October 30th. Oh, man.
Launch in Brooklyn. Yeah, October 31st, Brooklyn Museum. And you get it. It costs $35, but basically you get a free. Basically, that's the book. You get a book, copy of the book, and then I'm going to be signing books at the end.
$35 is for the event, but you're getting the book as well.
Yeah, and then you're going to get all these people talking about Doom. Like I'm excited to talk to his assistant Courtney, because even though I talked to her during the book, she wouldn't give me a official interview on the record. So I'm excited to ask her a few questions now.
Once again, thank you for joining us, man. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate you taking the time to go over this amazing book that you have coming out.
My pleasure.
I wish you, on behalf of myself and Sincere, all the success with this project. Anything else that you might have coming up in the future, maybe we could do another one if you got something else in the works, whether it's music or, a book. But thank you, man. We really appreciate it on behalf of myself, GYP, Get Yours. Thank you for, putting something that will be out there, you know what I mean, that represents our brother pretty well.
Respect.
Well job
Respect
as well.
to you.
And once again, it's out available for the people on
October 29th.
October 29th and
Yep.
October 31st. You'll be at the Brooklyn Museum.
Yep.
A couple of special invited guests talking about Doom, talking about your book. Make sure you pay attention. Are you on social media? Where can people follow you as far as to keep up with any updates on events?
I'm kind of like Doom. I'm kind of social media shy, but
Gotcha.
I'm on Facebook just as Skiz Fernando.
Okay. Now, is there anywhere though in particular that people can to know about any events, any when the book actually comes out that they can follow or look up?
There's a Facebook page actually for Chronicles of Doom.
Okay.
Yep.
Is it called Chronicles of Doom?
Yep. The Chronicles of Doom.
The Chronicles of Doom on Facebook. So everybody, make sure you go and hit that up.
Any events related to the book, my book tour. I got a whole book tour coming up.
Okay.
So
Nice.
it'll all be posted up there. Yep.
All right, cool. So once again, everybody go to the Facebook page, the Chronicles of Doom. That way you won't miss out on, what city you might be at. You might be in your town and get a chance to meet the one and only Skiz, journalist, writer, producer, artist, record label owner, author, you name it. Cookbook also. Don't forget that. Really dope. Thank you once again. Appreciate your time.
Respect.
Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.